Brian with Premier. So this is a video of an example that I send to my customers. Now, a lot of times you're not able to meet your customers on the job face-to-face. And if you're anything like me, then you know that meeting those customers face-to-face is what helps sells the job a lot of times. So this is an example of a video that I send to my customers in the if they're not able to meet me. All right, but it allows you to, make your points. It allows you to, introduce yourself to the customer a little bit, and it also allows them to get an idea of what type of person you are, your commitment to quality, your overall attitude and approach to your work. So yeah, just check this out. And again, this is something I send to my customers in a Dropbox, in the attempt that I can't meet them, so tell me what you think. All right, and like the video, for crying out loud. All right, because nobody likes the videos. Nobody likes my videos. Ryan with Premier doing a visual inspection of the 95-93 Depot Road parking lot. You got some big cracks. These cracks are a little bit bigger than what normal rubber like you would use on the road was designed for. So stuff like this, we like to use mastic. You got to think this rubber, as it goes in, it's a liquid, so it's going to want to travel the path of least resistance. The path of least resistance is that way. So this, if just you try to fill it with rubber, it's going to look sunken in, and it's going to want to pool up at the bottom. So mastic it's a permanent repair for something like this. Much more inexpensive as compared to cutting and patching with paving and stuff like that. The rest of the parking lot, other than it having cracks, it's honestly in pretty good shape. I mean, by the time we were done with this, it would look like $1 million, and I would expect it to last at least 3 to 5 years before it needs to be sealed again. A lot of these cracks, it's all kind of, it all kind of depends on how you want to go about fixing them. Again, if we were to overlay these with mastic, you'd never have to deal with them again, but that's, a little more expensive as compared to just using traditional road rubber. So some of these are perfect for rubber, and others, these bigger ones that are on inclines, rubber is just going to be a band-aid for it. I'm the type of contractor, I want to do something and know that I don't have to mess with it for, years down the road. And if it's going to cost you an extra, 20% or 25% to do it right, as opposed to somebody coming in here and just talking your pants off and making you think you got your parking lot taken care of, that's the thing you have to keep in mind when you're doing stuff like this is, the price of this stuff keeps going up. People are desperate to get work. So on the day that the job is completed, you'll never know the difference between, one guy's work versus the other guy's, because, they're pretty much going to look the same when they're done. The cracks are going to be filled, the parking lot's going to be black, but it's how it ages that matters, right? If you spend, let's say $6,000 or $4,500 to do this one parking lot, and then it's gone in a year and a half, you're never going to spend that $4,500 again. You're not going to find any value in it. So, and I'm just shooting at the hip for numbers. So, but what I'm saying is, we're giving you a price. It's not based on, trying to fit a budget or trying to be the low bidder. It's to give you the best possible outcome, the longest longevity, moving forward. This is an investment. You're talking fractions of a percent to maintain as it costs to replace. So, it's very easy to get talked into something that adds no value but looks good. So that's where we're at with this one. We're going to head over to the other two. So this parking lot for 117 is not in as good shape. Unfortunately, has the 93, 95. You got a lot of spider cracks going in this area right here. You got a lot of stuff underneath the parking lot starting to push its way through. You know, I mean, we would recommend, you know, mastic for the areas that have these spider cracks as opposed to rubber. You know, every one of these pieces is depending on the piece next to it, you know, to survive. If you lose one piece of this puzzle, this whole thing is going to break apart and turn into a pothole. So yeah, we would just kind of encapsulate this with mastic, and then it would never be a problem again. I know you have a specific, you know, instructions with regards to what you want done on each property, but I'm just going through and giving you a visual inspection, kind of letting you know the condition of everything and what it would take to fix it and get it back to where you can get some longevity out of it. You know, a parking lot like this, let's say the other one was $6,000, something like this, you know, is also going to run you about $6,000. It has some other things going on in it, but if you were to try to do the entire thing, you know, clean it, seal coat it, crack fill it, and then line stripe it, I would expect to pay around $6,000. All right, this is the last of the three. This is in my opinion, the parking lot that's in the best shape, requires the least amount of work. But you got one crack that needs mastic, the rest could be filled with rubber. Line stripe, number accordingly, however you want, A, B, C, D, 1, 2, 3, 4, or however the numbers go. It really makes no difference. Something like this, I'd expect to cost about $3,000. So if you were gonna do the entire 3 lots, soup to nuts, fix everything, seal coat it, crack fill it, line stripe it with assigned parking, you're looking at $15,000 to do all 3 parking lots. We'll go check out the other properties. We are at the Gibbs Street property, and honestly, this is no bueno. This is past what we as contractors, or at least my company, would ethically accept money to repair. You got a lot of holes from the wheels sinking in, cracks everywhere. You know, it's pointless to throw any money at this other than the line striping itself. And then either that, you got issues because you have numbers on top of numbers. You know, there was 0 F's given the last time this was done. So to come in and clean it, you'd have to give it a really good cleaning before you could do the line striping. You're essentially looking at having to take black paint or gray paint and block all of these out, and then put your numbers on top of it, because nobody has the exact stencils as the guy before, which is the problem that you have here right now. So, you know, I mean, that's really the only way to do it. You know, you got handicaps on top of handicaps, and then I drop my handicap on top of that, and it just, you know, I mean, the parking lot's a dump, no offense, you know what you got, but there's no reason to do things, you know, to make it worse, you know, to make it look worse, I should say. Same thing, this tiny visitors, I don't know who's supposed to be able to see that and understand it, but our visitor goes from line to line. It's the whole size of the parking space, 12 inches tall. So yeah, if I had to put a number on the line striping, again, I imagine this would be something that's done in 2 mobilizations at least. You know, if you could keep it to 2 mobilizations, you know, you're probably looking at like 6,000 bucks to paint the lines, which is a lot to paint the lines, but you're not just painting the lines. You know what I mean? Like, you got to take care of shit like this. Can't just freaking paint over grass. You know what I mean? And, you know, you could say, yeah, you can just paint over the grass, save me the money. But no, I'm not trying to be part of somebody's TikTok or Facebook where they take pictures of my trucks out the window and then come down here and point out my shitty line striping work. So that's not an option. So we're going to, you know, gray everything out, repaint everything here in 2 trips, 6,000 bucks. We're over at the Adams Street School. Here's the deal with this. It's in the shade. You got all this green algae, and I guarantee you when this place dries out, it's going to be rampant through the gas meters. You got moss building up over here, very green over here. Sealer is not going to stick to that. So I don't know if you have a maintenance guy or something, but that should be power washed off. And if you don't, then you can't expect the sealer to stay. Now, if we were going to power wash it, it would probably be 1,500 bucks, but while I'm here, I would get all this green off the stairs and, you know. But maybe you don't want to even do this section. Maybe it's not worth it. I wouldn't seal it until you get that cleaned off. So, this parking lot, very good shape, very cut and dry. I would just recommend using mastic on stuff like this. The rubber that has been used in the past is obviously failing. Same thing with this crack right here. If you're not familiar with what mastic is, when you go back to the body of this email, if you click on the link to our website, there's a video on the front page of our website of us applying mastic. You know, another thing that I see, again, different stencils, people just not caring. Hey, it's black, let's throw them down, paint it. No shit's given for what it's going to look like in 2 or 3 years. So we would black all of these out prior to sealing the parking lot. That way, when the lot fades, you know, it doesn't look like this, like a hot mess. Again, I'm supposed to put my visitor on top of this, and then you have, you know, a third set on top of there. No. So, again, a lot of mastic repair having to go through here. You know, I'm going to have to get you measurements on everything. If I had to guess, I'd say this is probably $8,500 to $10,000 to do this parking lot. But again, I'm not offering fast solutions. I'm not offering, you know, cheap prices. I'm offering longevity. I'm offering, you know, quality. You know, it's just the little things. Like this line is squiggly. You know, we're using lasers to do all of our line striping. Everything that we do is like locked on point. Again, you might have some algae growing under here. Looks like the sealer is peeling off in that section. But no, all this would be fixed. And then we would also take mastic and go around this catch basin right here. It's starting to deteriorate. So before it really sinks down, it needs to be, you know, taken out, and bricks have to be excavated. We'd run some good stuff around that mastic to make sure that this deterioration of that stops. So yeah, basically that's it in a nutshell. You're gonna see this, then I'll work on the estimates with the measurements and nailing the numbers down. But it gives you an idea of, you know, where everything is at. This is the best parking lot out of all of them. That one in Charlton, the first one, the 93-95, that one wasn't too bad either. And you know, you just had that one lousy one in the middle there on Gibbs Street. But the rest of them, they're in good shape. If you can afford it, it's worth sealing it and, you know, getting that maintenance in now so that it doesn't cost you all that money later.